NRL round 7, New Zealand Warriors finally back home at the Fortress, Mount Smart, up against the bloody Cowboys again for the second time this year. Let's see how this is going to play out. Hey team, welcome back to the Warriorholic. Time to take another preview of how the Warriors are going to go this weekend up against the Cowboys. Well, pretty tough to do that review earlier this week on the back of a loss to the Knights. Coulda, shoulda, woulda win again, but I think it probably did us good to realise that we can't always scrape through these games after letting them get away from us. So, yeah, pretty painful in the end, but I forced myself to go back and have a quick look at the game as part of my preparation for today, to see if I could isolate a couple of the points that are letting us or forcing us to lose these first quarters of the game. So I've harped on a few times about this. It's the first one is the piggyback penalties. Now, how's that coming about? I think there's this kind of unconscious drive by the Warriors to win the battle, right? So we're really over enthusiastic in the ruck, trying to win the ruck, hold them down that fraction too long. Being the Warriors, we're an easy target for the refs, so they ping us before they'll often ping another team. So I think we have to be extra cautious there. Win the ruck, but don't go trying to break any records for how far you can hold them down, particularly in the first 20. The second one is we're trying to win the confrontation, which is causing us to get a little bit overzealous in our line speed and getting ahead of that ref. I say lose it by half a metre in the first 10 or 15 minutes. You're still going to be in a better position than if you're giving away these piggyback penalties. We actually won the first 4 minutes, the battle of field position up against the Knights. We made 60 metres off our first set off our own line. Put in a kick. The Knights started on about their 20. They only got out to about halfway. We won the first 2 sets each. But then we just get a little bit fancy and we give away the penalties. Then they get up into our 20 early on and we start to panic. So why are we starting to give away these easy tries within these first 20 minutes or throughout the game? So I'm seeing 2 key situations. The first one I'm going to talk about is bomb defusal. So the Tyson Frizzell try, for an example, crossfield, not even that high of a bomb, but a crossfield mini bomb there from inside their 22. The ball's knocked loose. There are 5 Knights within a metre of the ball and 2 Warriors. We're not backing up the guy who's trying to take the kick. And so many times in the past 2 weeks did we see whoever was trying to catch the ball get it bounce off their shoulder. We got a horrible bounce and it's resulted in a try. Actually, it goes back to the first game against the Cowboys. Their first try came from a poor bomb defusal underneath our post, knocked it on, and we didn't have the guys there to cover it up. So that's something we're really going to have to work on. One is taking the ball, getting up high, getting those arms up, but having our other players around to make sure that we're covering up those holes and allowing for those unlucky bounces, because it seems at the moment, every week those unlucky bounces are going the opposition's way, and you can't really control that other than being there to cover it up. Now the second one is this whole thing about getting stripped out wide. I went back and had a look in slow motion over and over against the tries where we got stripped out wide against the Knights. I didn't have a chance to go back and do it from the Sharks. So it reaffirmed to me again, one problem is we start to lose the ruck. The opposition starts to gain momentum. We commit that 3rd and 4th tackler to the ruck and we don't get them out of there in time, and the opposition's smart enough to see that and spin it straight away. The 2 key culprits for me against the Knights, unfortunately, were Jazz and Curran. Both really eager guys and probably getting there and trying to really dominate that ruck to get us back on the front foot, but just not getting back into that line. And all of a sudden, we're a man short on whichever side they go, because the opposition's got 1 person in the tackle, we've got 4. So we're hiding for nothing, and they're just really good at identifying which side to go for. The second situation's coming where our back row is not actually in the ruck. They're just lazy in retreat, And the person who's actually the most of a culprit that surprised me is Josh Curran. He was responsible, indirectly responsible, for causing the overlap on 3 tries against us up against the Knights, for either not getting back into the line quick enough, or he just stood there flat-footed like a stunned mullet and didn't react. So by the time the ball got past him, we're up against an overlap. Now, the next thing that's happening that's really screwing us, and all of those tries, the wing came flying out of the line to try and hit the guy with the ball, either the centre or the half who was drifting across, or maybe the lead runner, exposing the outside where either the centre was left with a 2 or 3 on 1, or a 1-on-1 in a situation where Marju had so much space it was easy for him to get around them. So how do we fix this? Is our middle forwards just have to be much more, or our edges in the case of Curran, of getting back into that line within our own quarter there. It's just vital. None of this standing there flat-footed. We need to drift across, and we need to trust our guys to stay in formation, not coming flying in out. We pull off the odd one when we nail the guy and it looks good, that we just bounce off, they flick it on, and it basically means whoever's left on the outside, whether it's the wing or the centre, depending on who's coming, they're left on a hiding for nothing. Every single time that happened, we couldn't defend it. So I'm really hoping that we're going to cover it up. Heard Webby talking about it yesterday on SENZ. He spoke about it. They've acknowledged it. So, they know what's happening. The only good news is I sat there and watched the Cowboys game from the weekend. They did exactly the same thing as we did. So this is going to be a battle of the team who can actually cover up those, overlaps, stick to their processes, because they're making the same cock-ups as us with their diffusions of the bombs and getting overlaps put on them outside, to the point that even guys like Valentine Holmes, he got done a couple of times on the weekend. So, we're pretty lucky we're up against them, not a really clinical team that gives us a chance to kind of sort a few things out. Being at home, going to be tough. Good to have Tohu back, because I think he will clean up a lot of those holes around the middle there. He'll make sure we're not needing 4 guys in the tackle underneath our post there, which means that we're short both left and right. So who knows? Let's take a quick look at how the team stats look versus us versus them. So 42 games down now, 21 apiece, thanks to that last one we had last time. So all even there. We've won 67% at 4 out of 6, and they've won 2 out of 6. I think there's not a lot of difference in the way their games have gone. It's just that we've been able to finish stronger than them, so we've come away with the wins, which has got to be a good thing. We're always really competitive in that last quarter. Points scored and against, so we've got 134 and 107 against versus, 134, 122 against. They got 107 for, 131 against. So, their against is just about as bad, or is worse than ours, but we're just about as bad as them in the amount of points we're letting in. The difference is our past 2 games have both been over 30 points. You take them out of, and the total's quite different. Completion rates, 81 for us, 80 for them, basically the same. Tackle efficiency, 89 for us, 86.4 for them, nothing in that. Average play of the ball speed, 3.55 seconds for us, 3.5 for them. So if you're looking at team stats, you're looking at 2 very, very even teams. We've just managed to deliver in a few more big situations, so that's a positive. If we take a look at the teams, I'm going to do a look, again, I'm still stuck here in Tokyo, so I don't have the fast enough internet to download or upload something that's too long, so I'm not going to get into too much detail with the individual stats versus the players. But if we have a look at the backlines, you glance at it man for man, the representative players, we shouldn't be able to compete with them. Chance versus Drinkwater. Effort-wise, you can't fault Chance. His meters, the hard work he does is probably better than Drinkwater. He's, I've said it before, he's more like Dylan Edwards from the Panthers, up against a guy who's extremely creative and high energy X factor. the majority of the tries for the Cowboys are coming from Drinkwater, taking the ball, engaging the line, little pop passes to runners coming off his shoulder, or bullet wide skip passes where he's skipping up to 2 players inside him going directly to the wing, or even the harbour ball, a harbour bridge ball floating over the top there, but he's still skipping the edge back row in the centre. So a lot of their attack is centred around him, so we're going to have a plan to shut him down. He's one of those guys you come up to quickly, he steps the first guy, and he'll just bounce around until he finds space. I don't feel like we've got that player in our team. We've got SJ's a little bit more lateral, but he can step inside or whatever, but he's not the live wire that we see from Drinkwater. If he gets time at the back there, Tuaupiki offers more of a Drinkwater style there, but initially I think, I love that we've got Chance there. He's so reliable. Talking to the guys on SEN in Australia yesterday, and Joel Kane mentioned that there's probably a chance that Chance isn't quite getting his numbers right at the back there after a year or so the Raiders playing in the centres. Who knows, I always rated him as a fullback, but perhaps he's not quite getting the numbers right in our defence and getting people in the right position. But overall, I rate him. But purely on the X factor and the potential to turn a game, I'm going to give this slightly to Drinkwater there. Kossi up against Tuolangi. So Tuolangi's coming back from an injury there. Kossi, he's had a couple of nightmares being done on the outside, or missing tackles, or not defusing bombs. Although he's still played relatively solidly, he's going to have to be really, really on his game on defence up against Tuolangi. He's an international, outstanding player. So I'm going to give it on potential there and reputation to Tuolangi. Vaila against Heku. It's going to be an interesting matchup, the old ball against the new ball. I used to think Heku was a bit of a myth until the last couple of years he played for us. His subtle hands and his ability to put people away, to make that really vital tackle. He's such a solid player that I wish we still had him now. Up against the guy in Vaila who's got a lot of X factor. He looked like he had it last year, but hasn't really shown it as much this year. But he's got speed, he's got agility, he's got a nice little pop pass, but he just doesn't have this experience or consistency. So in theory, you've got to give that one to Heku as well. Pompey up against Holmes. Reputation, Holmes as well. Class, look what he does in State of Origin, but I think Pompey got it over him. In the last game, he definitely, he went over the top of him and put that one try away. But in the past 3 weeks, we've seen Pompey go over the top of 3 of some of the biggest, strongest defending centres in the game. We've seen him put in those little subtle steps, and the Holmes has been done by in the past couple of weeks by his opposition. So who knows? Reputation, you give it to Holmes. Current form, maybe it's our man Pompey. Montoya against Kyle Felt. Felt hasn't been playing outstanding, but he's still a very solid competitive guy, very similar. They're both big, strong, hard-running forwards. But, I'm still going to give this one to Monty. I like his consistency, the meters he's making every week, and I don't think Felt's like an amazing, world-class player. I think Monty's been one of our most consistent, so I'm going to give it to him. Getting into the halves there, so we've got Tom Dearden up against Dylan Walker. That's going to be an interesting challenge because Dearden's not a big guy, but he's very strong on defence. He's a really strong runner. He played outstandingly last season, in a bit of a funk this year. Walker, I think, has been one of our better players. I think he might thrive from not having to spend so much energy in the forwards there if he does play in a traditional 5/8 role there, particularly in the first half. I expect him to get up over Dearden in this battle. Who knows what happens in the second half? They may move Walker into the forwards and maybe give Tuaupiki a shot at 5/8. I'm not sure how they're going to use him. So, but initially, I'm going to give it to Walker there. And then we've got Townsend against SJ. Two old teammates from a couple of clubs. One of them had an outstanding season last year, surprised everyone. This year, not so much. And Townsend, SJ had a shithouse season last year, playing out of his skin this year. Both solid, histories and experience, current form and reputation. I'm giving this one to SJ. I hope he just continues to thrive at being at home and, takes his boys to the next level. Having a guy like Toby there to take a bit of leadership off his shoulders, I'm giving that to SJ. So overall, Backline, in theory, they've got it over us. Recent form, we shouldn't be intimidated. We've got we have every opportunity to get over them on every individual position there. It's about clicking as a team, trusting ourselves, trusting the guys around us. Whichever team's able to do that will likely get up. If we don't, it'll come down to individual brilliance, and I think that having Drinkwater there gives them a slight edge. Taking a look at the forward packs here, should again, kind of similar. They got State of Origin guys there in their internationals, but so have we, either for New Zealand or Samoa or Tonga and the like. So head to head, Adam Whanua-Blake against Mitchell Dunn. I'm giving that to Whanua-Blake. He's been one of our best players all season. Continues to defy the size of his body with the energy and the minutes he plays. With Freddie Lussick up against Robson. Robson's going to be someone we really have to watch. I've said this over the past couple of weeks. We're getting done by the fullbacks or the fast-running dummy halves around the ruck, so the fullback might come into dummy half and just get that little one bump off pass off the dummy half straight through the middle of the ruck, or a really fleet-footed hooker doing that. Robinson's one of those guys. He got a couple of really good breaks against us in the first game. He did so again in the weekend, so we're going to have to watch him. But I think Lussick's pretty quick on his feet as well. He's combative, he's competitive, so it'll be a really interesting battle there for him. 50-50 for me. Bunty up against Ruben Cotter. So I'm going to take a quick minute here to reflect on Bunty, who I've been hard on over the past couple of weeks. But I heard Webster talking about him yesterday as well. And I've been, why has Bunty's numbers been so shit, but his minutes have been limited? And Webby said something, that made complete sense. Bunty's been playing the first 20 or 25 minutes, and in every game we've been done for possession in the first 20 minutes. We haven't had the ball. So how can he have good run meters when he just hasn't had the ball to run with? And that made a lot of sense to me, and his tackle efficiency is pretty good. He's not making a huge amount of tackles, but again, I don't know how they count them, because he's not normally the first tackler, he's normally the second or the third in there. Maybe that doesn't count for his tackle numbers, I'm not sure, because he's definitely not making 5 or 6 tackles a quarter. He's making more than that, but he's not the first guy in. So maybe I've been a bit harsh on him. Who knows? But Webby still seems confident that he can back his experience to start there. So again, hopefully we can get a bit of ball and he can show us that he has got the ability to make those big meters with the energy he runs with. Ruben Cotter's a solid State of Origin player. He's a little bit of a wrecking ball for his size, not a huge man. But I think that makes it a good matchup, because we've got a lot of smaller mobile guys in our pack. So be interesting to see how that goes. Then we get to the edges. So Jackson Ford up against Nano. That'll be an interesting one. Ford did get caught on the flat foot a little bit as well. I mentioned Jazz getting caught in the ruck. Every now and then Ford has that happen as well. He's not the most mobile, if you know what I mean. He's quick, but he's just really solid. So with a guy who's got the speed and the sort of deceptive strength of Nano, that's going to be an interesting matchup. But I do rate him on defense, so as long as he can get his combinations right, I'm hoping Ford can match Nano there. Cohen Hess up against Ciro. Does Ciro actually start there? I imagine so, to be honest. It's going to be a tough one. I'm curious to see if he does get the start, whether Ciro can play that combative, big hitting second rower role, because like I've said before, he's more about the subtleties and the skills and playing like a ball playing player rather than a combative player. Cohen Hess will get up in his face and he'll be running hard all day. Who knows how that's going to go, but I'd really like to see Ciro continue to try and convince me. It's not like it's actually worlds built around convincing me of shit, but I I'd love it if he did, you know. I'm the first one to accept when I'm wrong, and I only call what I think I see, and I've never said I'm an expert, but I just feel like he needs to step up and offer more. He's coming off contract this year, show that he deserves to get that extension. At the moment, I'm not sure he is, but hey, prove me wrong, bro. Step up and match. Tohu up against Jason Taumalolo. This is going to be an interesting battle, you know. Traditionally, Taumalolo has the ability to be the most destructive runner in the NRL. For the past couple of years, I think he's struggled to do that. This year, he's struggling to dominate anyone. You know, he might make the odd break or whatever, but he's definitely not overly dominating an opposition pack. Tohu just a complete beast, coming off the back of a bit of a rehab there, so he should be a little bit more refreshed. Touch wood, they're not pushing it with his knee, you know. Hopefully it is back to 100% so he can play at his full ability, and I expect him to win that battle. So overall, you know, quite an even looking four-pack matchup here. Hard to give it to either team based on like reputation or, you know, a recent performance, but I'm going to give us the edge. Interchange. So a bit of an interesting one here. We've got Tuaupiki in there at 14. Then we've got Curran, Jazz and Ali. They've got Granville, who's a hooker but can play loose forward, kind of a similar role to Dylan Walker there at 14. And then they've got Tom Chester, who's a fullback in their lineup as well. So we've got two live wire, there we go. Two live wire, young, really quick fullbacks coming off the bench. So let's see how they're both used, because I think they can have a big impact against the guys, you know, the big forwards and stuff with their when their legs start to tire in the back end of games here. Jermaine Taunoa-Brown and Riley Pearce. You know, I think our bench is our point of difference. I'll start again. Jazz and Curran, two high energy players. Hoping that they've reminded Curran of these defensive lapses that he's made that I noted there. And he's up for it, particularly coming off the bench and not starting. He should have a little bit more energy. So Ali coming off the back of his best game. Really excited to see how he goes again. But I'm really curious to see how Tuaupiki gets used, because I don't think you want to take Chance off. One thing in the back of my mind is Chance playing with a bit of an injury, that they need that cover if he goes off. Who knows? Maybe they look at giving him a run, Tuaupiki at 5'8". You know, a lot of people I heard when I mentioned that said, no, he's never had any game experience. Well, we went through a whole off-season of playing game-simulated training to build up our fitness. You've got to imagine that Tuaupiki's been in a few different positions here. So, you know, I'd be quite curious. To me, he would bring a little bit of like Metcalf with that blinding speed. I've seen his ability to distribute in the New South Wales Cup. So, curious one for me. I'm giving it to our bench. Summarise now what the hell's going to happen. We play to our potential. You know, we play to the crowd gets behind us. We deliver as a team. We defend our mistakes, and I have every confidence we can win. If we play like we did against the Knights, and the Cowboys are ever so slightly better than they've been lately, they'll beat us. I think we should win, but I definitely wouldn't be betting anybody's left nut on it. Really curious to see how we go. Got to be competitive. Got to play for 80. Got to get that start right. Just smash them. Do me a favour and just smash one team this year, start to finish, so I can watch the whole game without risk of punching a hole in my iPad. I don't deal with these fucking tight games, people, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But I'm still all in. I've still got my hope. I've got my passion. I'm hoping those fucking bandwagon jumpers don't jump off early, and we've got a full stadium up in Auckland. This is the Warriorholic, all in for 2023. Hoping you're all still into. Up the mighty Warriors. Let's go.